Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to yet another Rome 2 Total War battle. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Riley and/or Captain Four Eyes. And boy, do I got a battle for you. Holy smokes. This was a 1v2 battle between myself playing as Rome and a couple of my buddies. One playing as Macedon and one playing as Athens. Me defending and them attacking, and it was an absolute just insane battle. I absolutely loved it. I really hope that you guys do as well. This was all streamed on twitch.tv/CAPN4IS. So if you guys, want to see more content from me, I know I don't post on my YouTube channel as much as a lot of other people do. But if you guys want to see more content from me, please be sure to stop by there. Give me a little bit of a follow. I'd love to be able to see you guys and talk to you guys live whilst on stream. But yeah, guys, this was such a fun battle to play. It was absolutely insane, and I'm very excited to bring it to you guys. 1v2s are always interesting, especially in like Rome Total War. The only other Total War game that I typically do this on is Medieval 2 Total War, whenever I used to play it a lot. But this 1v2 battle was very fun, very interesting, and the ending was just, in my opinion, absolutely insane. And so I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm really excited to show this to you guys. So we're just going to keep it on normal speed. Things do start up here pretty quick, but just going to keep it on normal speed and give you guys a little bit of an insight as to what's kind of going on today. So like I said, I'll be playing as the defenders. I will be playing as Rome. I'm being kind of a little bit cheeky. I figured I'd play the most overpowered faction, in my opinion, in this game, because I really wanted to get the dub. This was a fun battle, don't get me wrong, but I am a competitive player, and so I am going to play as Rome to see if I can get the dub. So whilst I'm playing Rome, meanwhile, my enemies, or my friends, whichever you might want to consider them as, throughout this game, are playing as Macedon and Egypt. Army comps are kind of your typical army comps. Attackers bring in a ton of swords, a few pikes, a bunch of units of archers, and a couple of units of spears just in case. A couple of units of cav for counter cav charges and everything else. Me, being the Roman Empire, of course, I'm bringing a ton of legionaries, a couple armored legionaries, Praetorian guards, Triarii, mercenary archers, a unit of slingers, a unit of elephants, which I fucking love. Dude, this game with elephants, I know whenever the game first released, it was pretty broken, at least just based around my personal experiences. But just how it's developed over the time and how popular it is today, it's absolutely insane. But going off of that, yes, I love elephants. The attackers, of course, have a strong offensive force going over on this main wall over here. But they also decided to do a little bit of a flanking force, which worried me a little bit. They've got their super overpowered Thracian warriors, basically Rome killers, is what I like to call them. Their giant swords just melt armor like it was nothing. Like steel in the flame. I mean, it's just melding us to just absolute nothingness. Blood and gore covering the battlefield. They also have some of this Thessalian cavalry. Very, very good cavalry. Armored shock cav, if I remember correctly. Of course, I could just read the description that's right there. Heavy shock cavalry. Very good cav. And a Greek heavy onager. Some of the rules of this battle were max 1 artillery per faction, which one of the attacking factions broke, but it didn't really matter. I didn't care. Again, this was just a friendly battle, so rules were just there for whatever. If I remember correctly, max 2 pikes, max 4 ranged units, whether that be archers, slingers, javies, whatever it might be. And then max 1 elef, and I believe that's the only rules of this game. So as you guys can see, like I said, this battle starts off real quick. I've got a couple of legionaries situated on top of this wall over here to kind of hold back the enemy. I realize that there's just way too many of these guys. There's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to hold these walls, especially since thorax swords, from what my personal experience, thorax swordsmen are so much better at holding and or taking the walls than legionnaires are. So I'm going to get out of there. I'm going to push back and hopefully maybe hold this position or this position. And just try to hold the streets, because legionnaires are definitely a lot better at holding the streets than holding the walls. A little bit of a strategy that I've learned from watching Pixelated Apollo. If you don't know who he is, I'd be really surprised, but he's a freaking fantastic YouTuber. Make sure you check him out. But it's what he likes to call shooting fish in a barrel. Situating your ranged units down on the ground and firing up at the enemies while they're on the wall. Their backs are typically exposed. They're a lot more exposed than they would be if you were just shooting down and face to face on the ground. And so it just gets you, it racks up a ton of kills and really helps you to help defend the walls. So that's what I have my slingers kind of doing over here. Looking back over at the other side of the battle, they've created a breach point with this Greek heavy onager. But they're kind of holding back their mercenary Thracian warriors, which kind of surprised me. I was expecting them just to kind of charge in, but I'm not complaining. If my towers are going to pick off a few of these guys, they're really powerful troops. They're such a pain in the butt to fight. So if they're going to let my towers slowly chip away at their troops before they charge in, then by all means go ahead. I just decided ultimately to keep a couple of Vergilius, really shitty spear infantry over here, because I didn't really, for whatever reason, it was right there in front of me, but I didn't really notice it. I didn't see the mercenary Thracian warrior, so I just kind of ignored him, and all I saw was the cav. I was like, okay, so there's an onager and cav, spears and stakes. So I just kind of place stakes all over these kind of choke point areas, and kind of just prepared for a cav attack. So I got a couple of units. I've got a unit of archers and a couple of units of spears to try to kind of hold back this attack before they can do too much major damage. Looking back over here, my Legionnaires are holding so much longer than I expected, and they're actually doing a decent chunk of damage to these Thorax Swordsmen. Again, I just have them up there to kind of hold back the enemy, try to keep them in line, so that way the rest of my forces can successfully. So I did ultimately decide to retreat back to this kind of long chunk point here. But so ultimately I can retreat as many forces back as possible, because again, there's no way I'm going to be able to hold these walls, and I don't really want to hold these areas and give the enemy the opportunity to move their archers up on these walls and shoot down on me. And just, I'm trying to give them as many disadvantages as possible. So yeah, they're using a ton of ammo on my Legionnaires. They moved up their archers, and they're just, you know, they're trying to use as much ammo as possible. But this is really good for me, because if you look, you know, they're shooting down from like a downward angle, hitting, a lot of the arrows are going to be hitting the wall and hitting this, and any arrows that do somehow successfully manage to kind of hit these guys, their shields are still sort of pointed towards the enemy, and of course they're armored legionaries, so their arrows aren't nearly going to do nearly as much. And again, these guys are just a distraction force to give me a little bit more time to situate my forces. So the more ammo that I can get them to waste on these guys, the better. Looking back over on this side, Macedon is beginning to move up their Thessalian cavalry. Athens is still kind of situating their Thracian warriors, keeping them back, waiting for the charge. I think they're just waiting for their main force to kind of successfully charge in before they start doing their charge. They're just kind of trying to split my focus between two different points, which is a really good idea. And another reason why I kind of had to pull back, because again, I'm just trying to give myself more time to get myself situated and to try to prepare as best a defense as possible. And again, I'm really surprised that these Legionnaires are still holding. I mean, there's only two of them. They're surrounded. They're fighting against better wall fighters, in my opinion. I believe that Thorax Swordsman is better than Legionnaires at holding the wall. And they're being peppered by, you know, tons and tons of archer fire, but yet they're still holding like champs. And I've just got a couple of units here holding back, you know, an entire, pretty much two entire armies. I've just got two units holding it back. Now, finally, one of my units of Legionnaires, sadly, are breaking, but they fought hard, man. They really fought tooth and nail for this wall, and they're back. They didn't even break. They are back, and these guys are starting to break as well, which is understandable. They're losing a lot of numbers. And Athens really taking their time, just trying to wait for the best opportunity to charge in and attack this type of formation. I really need to get my guys situated because they're really out of formation. I kind of charged these guys out because I was still trying to get my slingers back, and these guys were chasing them, so I just used them as a little bit of a deterrent from the enemy kind of trying to attack me. So it looks like this kind of surprised me a little bit, considering I had spears and stakes set up. You know, this was purely an anti-cav strategy. I had an anti-cav strategy purely implanted in my mind when it came to this section, because of the fact that I really for I don't know how, but for whatever reason, I didn't notice the Thracian warriors. So I was really surprised that they're trying to move up their cav first. But slowly but surely, they're just kind of walking them in, taking their time, just trying to basically scare the shit out of me, which is working. But looking over on this other side, yeah, my legionaries are finally breaking, but they really did a number. Again, I was really surprised. They held these walls like champs, and actually did a pretty like decent number of damage to these guys. It wasn't bad. It was not a bad fight at all. Oh wow, I didn't realize that I lost a bunch of troops right here. Huh. But yeah, no, I mean they fought tooth and nail for that wall and distracted them, and definitely gave me more than enough time to be able to retreat all my forces and kind of resituate myself. But finally the cav. Oh. So this is why they charged the cav in. This right here is why they charged the cav in first, and the infantry not far behind at all, because this cav just absolutely, hold on, sorry guys, just absolutely just like demolished this spear unit and just charged right through them like they're nothing. Took maybe one loss. They took maybe one, maybe two losses out of that. I mean, that really didn't affect them at all. And so now they're able to charge through my spears, and if they can successfully get through these spikes without taking too many casualties, then they'll be able to do a huge number of damage to my troops, just charging through the back lines and just really doing a number. And so we were all in voice chatting, is like, God damn it, you knew my like freaking cav was coming in and all these spikes and stuff, and I started laughing. I'm like, yep, but look at this. This cheeky little bastard just freaking goes right through, makes a tiny, loses like, what, 5 cav units, like 4, not units, but like soldiers, and successfully charges through that little gap with minimal casualties, and is able just to freely run through this entire city and just hit the back lines of my troops. And they do end up ultimately seeing my elephants because of the cav moving in. And I see that the cav is behind me, and I'm like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. So I charge my spears back, but I completely forgot that these spears just did not do anything. And so like last minute I tried to like form a square, but it didn't work too well. So this cav is just absolutely demolishes my spears. Like they're not taking any losses, dude. These spears just, they are absolute shite. And the fact that they're heavy shot cav is just, like, my spears really just cannot do anything at all. So I'm just trying to frantically get all my troops back into this choke point so I can hold against this cav and try to get my archers and stuff. But I see that their cav is charging. I don't have any units to be able to defend these Syrian archers. So I'm like, well, shit. This is Lord of the Rings in this motherfucker. Alright, we're going to go ahead and charge my elephants, because elephants wreck cav. And I'm like, you know what? If this could successfully do it in Lord of the Rings, it should be able to do it in this game, right? It did. That actually really surprised me. I charged these elephants in, and these cav went from, 74 and 76 to 33 and 52 and counting. Like that, those elephants really did a number on these guys. And so they stopped charging after these Syrian archers and went after these slingers, because I had them out of position. But I'm just kind of frantically, almost mistakenly, just charging all of my legionnaires at them. I'm just trying so hard to try to defeat this cav and hope that this cav can't keep wreaking havoc upon my lines. Again, I didn't realize that these spears were still alive. I thought that they insta-broke from the cav, but I should have reformed them, but I didn't. So Athens charged in his mercenary Thracian warriors and just absolutely demolished the remnants of those spears. I have my other spear in square formation, but these towers are just absolutely wrecking them. I mean, each shot just absolutely demolishes these spears, and yeah, they do not stand a chance against these Thracian warriors and these towers. Like, they're getting wrecked, and here it goes. The charge of the overpowered Thracian warriors just gonna absolutely demolish these spears. Like, wow. Look at that. That is just absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's not good for me, but that's the fighting, the giant swords, the barbarian factions, they're all just so beautiful. And ultimately, we did end up taking out the remnants of those cav units. It was just a few left, and they tried to charge back and just do as much damage as possible. But luckily, we were lucky enough to be able to defeat those cav units, so that was good. I still have my slingers a little bit out of position, which kind of surprised me. I really need to move everybody back. So now I'm trying to reform, resituate myself, and get prepared for the final, or second to last attack upon my faction. I saw that they were moving up their artillery and trying to get them like super close to the walls, so that kind of scared me a little bit. So I moved up my Triarii, my Praetorian Guard, all of my elite units, and I was trying to hug the walls as much as possible, just to try to deter that artillery bombardment and trying to keep them from being able to just absolutely demolish my guys with explosive, fiery balls of justice. I mean, it was, I was scared. They had 2 heavy onagers, and I did not want to have to deal with that, so I'm hiding behind those walls. And finally, I'm starting to resituate myself and get myself nice and cozy inside this little choke point. And all is kind of quiet here. Athens is kind of taking their time and getting themselves situated. Okay, hold on. Let me pause here for a second. So whilst Athens is getting situated, ultimately, this was a huge mistake on my part, in my opinion. But ultimately, I decide, okay, if I'm just going to hold this, last point, what's the point in having elephants? I don't know why this went through my mind. I don't know why I thought that this was a good idea, but ultimately I was like, well, these elephants are kind of a waste of space at these points. Which, elephants are never a waste of space. Do not ever throw them away like this. And I'm like, ultimately, I'm like, okay, let's see if I see a couple of thorax swordsman units out in the open. Let me just charge them and see if I can get a couple of kills, do as much damage as possible before the enemy gets to the final wall. Again, I would never recommend doing this to anybody. Save your elephants, because they will always be useful. Elephants are just so good in any type of situation. At breaking formation, just absolutely wreaking havoc upon the enemy lines. Save your elephants. But that being said, I'm charging my elephants, and I'm trying to, just charge them directly into these thorax swordsman units. And I'm just trying to do as much damage as possible. And of course, I'm being shot at by fire arrows. Of course, they're just trying to get rid of my elephants and make them stampede, make them break. Well, the towers are shooting fire arrows at me, but surprisingly enough, the archers, I don't think they're shooting now, but they were shooting regular arrows at me, which I guess makes sense. They don't want them to stampede into their lines whilst they're in the middle of those thorax swordsman lines. And regular arrows will definitely help to kill the elephants a little bit more quickly. But yeah, no, my elephants go on rampage mode, and they're just, at least they're in rampage mode in the middle of the enemy lines, but they're going on rampage mode, and they're ultimately just, they're not going to do as much. I could have definitely done a lot more with them if I hadn't just thrown them away like they were garbage, but I mean, at least they did something. They did a little bit of damage, so that's all I could have asked for. Over here, this kind of surprised me. Macedon, without any support, like, you've got some swords and stuff in the back, but really, without any true support, Macedon's just charging in. 3 units of his, I'm going to butcher this unit's name, Agranian? We're just going to call him Grain. The Grain Axeman. He's charging in 3 units of the Grain Axeman, which is an axe thrower unit, if I remember correctly, without any support or anything, which really surprised me. So I saw that he was just charging these guys in. Just charging them right in without any cares in the world. And so I was like, okay, I've still got a couple of elephants left. I didn't lose them all in that one charge. And here I'm just kind of really regretting using up these elephants like that and throwing them away like garbage. And I'm like, okay, if they want to charge in, then I'm going to go ahead and charge in my elephants and deter the enemy from charging in. And they just charged in. The Grain Axemen just charged right into my Legionnaires without a care in the world. This really surprised me. I really think that he should have saved this unit, but I can't really say anything because I charged in a unit of elephants, an expensive unit of elephants, and just kind of wasted them against a couple of units of thorax swordsmen and a lot of archers, which again, I would never recommend doing. But yeah, no, they're charging in their range units, and I'm surrounding them. I've got my Legionnaires. We're just gonna go ahead and do whatever we can to kill these guys. I mean, if they want to charge in like that, then I'm gonna get some kills. I'm gonna get some kills on these guys. And there goes my elephants going on rampage mode again, stampede mode, whatever it's called. But luckily they're not charging into my own units, so I'm happy about that. While Macedon's range unit, so there he goes again. He's got more Grain Axemen coming in, which again, this really, really surprised me. But while Macedon is kind of, I guess, distracting me, Athens is still trying to resituate himself, get himself prepared for the final battle. He just took one of the um, morale points, I believe. If I remember correctly, these outer points, the only benefits they really give towards the defenders is the morale, and of course, if the attackers get it, it takes away that morale. But Athens trying to finally charging in some units, some of the thorax swordsmen that I had attacked with my elephants, coming in to try to support his ally. I think the grain axemen, like they've kind of noticed that they've broken through my lines, and so they see my archers and my slingers up here, and they're like, okay, maybe we can charge into those guys. And so, hold on, let me pause real quick. And so they're going to charge right past my lines and just try to get into that, my archers and my slingers over here. Of course, I point out the wrong ones while I say it, but it's okay. But I'm not going to have that. I've got some more legionnaires that I had successfully retreated from that main wall back here, and I'm going to charge one of them in and stop these grain axemen from being able to charge into my range units. But they're coming. He's sending in pikemen. He's got more grain axemen and everything, and I'm scared. So I'm like, okay, I really need to reform my lines. So while these guys are being attacked by the flanks, I'm going to go ahead and turn my flank on these legionnaires back, which could have potentially been a bad idea. But I really need to reform a line because they were coming. They were not giving me any leeway, and just so I really need to reform a line as quickly as possible. So I brought back these legionnaires from attacking these axemen back here, and then I turned these legionnaires back as well and just kind of formed a defensive line while these legionnaires are just crushing these axemen. So luckily I was smart enough to bring in this unit of legionnaires, or else I would have had a even bigger problem in my hand. Finally, I'm activating my slingers and my archers as well. My slingers have seen a lot of action between this wall and coming all the way back here. They've seen a lot, but they've still got ammo and they're still ready to fight. So I'm going to go ahead and focus fire on this kind of line that's attacking my already depleted legionnaires, and just trying to do as much damage as possible. Just trying to keep the enemy from having a huge number of forces before they come and attack my final defense. But all in all, this worked pretty well. I mean, I successfully somehow reformed this line pretty quickly, and they're not happy about it. They are going to send in a lot of troops. They are not holding back. They are sending in everything, and they're just going to do whatever they can to break through this line. And it's a little bit scary, so I'm bringing in that other unit of legionnaires. I'm falling back this unit of legionnaires, and I'm creating another line, so that way I'm trying to give my archers and my slingers as much time to attack as possible. And of course, I've still got these fireballs to activate, so we could potentially do a lot of damage to the enemy. But yeah, nope, they're really blobbing up. I mean, they're sending in everything. They are not going to stop, and my thin little line of legionaries isn't going to hold for long. So I'm just trying to pour in as much archer fire as possible. Surprisingly, I'm not... Well, okay, never mind. I did finally activate these auxiliary Syrian archers up on the walls, but... surprisingly, it took me a little bit longer to activate those guys than I had thought. And ultimately, they're using that, in my opinion, the stupid-ass strat to just charge through my units. I'm sorry, the stupid-ass glitch in this game where you can just kind of charge through units like they're nothing. And just keep charging through line after line after line. So that's what Macedon is doing, which is fine. It's part of the game. There were no rules to say against it, so there's absolutely nothing that I can say. But yeah, Macedon is just charging through, trying to break through my lines to try to get to my archers. He's definitely losing a lot of troops doing that, but he's definitely got a lot of troops to do that with, so it's not that huge of a loss. And meanwhile, I'm just trying to pour as much fire as I can into the enemy lines, because they're so blobbed up right here, and I've still got all of my ammo. I've saved all of my ammo for the end game, and ultimately I see that these thorax swordsmen were charged through, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this strat. So I'm like, all right, I just got to activate these balls of fire. I'm gonna lose a lot to enemy friendly fire, but they are really blobbed up here. Ooh, look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. And so I get the fiery balls of justice in, and it does a number. We break a couple of troops. My legionnaires are still holding somehow. They did take a lot of damage, but we dealt a lot of damage to the enemy as well. So it was kind of a win-lose type of situation, and they're really breaking through. They're just charging right through. I've still got a unit of legionnaires. I have no idea how they're still holding, but I still got a unit of legionnaires over here, just holding back these freaking Thracian warriors, which again are just Rome killers. They are so good at taking out armored units. And so just get a few of those and they will be set. But yeah, Macedon is just charging through. He does not care. And I'm like, oh shit, I really need to be able to try to save my slingers, save as much ammo as possible, and get myself situated. And this is whenever I'm like, okay, shit, I'm not prepared. I really need to get my last line of attack, my last line of defense situated and set up. So I'm moving up my Triarii, I'm moving up my Praetorian Guard. I'm just moving up a bunch of units to be able to just try to hold back the enemy for as long as possible. Again, I need to give my archers and my slingers and my range units as much time as possible to just rain fire into the enemy blob, because they're really blobbed up right here. I just need to do as much damage as possible. But yeah, they've still got a lot of decent amount of range units. They're sending in their Greek heavy onagers are out of ammo, which is very nice for me. But yeah, there's still a lot of units that I have to go through. This battle is far from over. They've got mercenary Thracian warriors. They've got thorax swordsmen. They've got, what's this? Veteran hoplites. More hoplites. More warriors. Cretan archers. They've got more thorax. Macedon brought a shit ton of thorax swordsmen. That was insane. They've still got fucking pikemen, which are my worst nemesis. They are so hard to defeat. They are so hard to fight against. They've still got more thorax swordsmen. They have more... I never even noticed this, but they have beehive onagers. I never noticed that they had this until now. Wow, okay, I didn't realize that they had this. But yeah, they have beehive onagers that are firing at something. Maybe my armored legionnaires? Because it kind of looks like the angle with which they're firing at. It looks like they're trying to fire at my armored legionnaires. But yeah, my legionnaires, they put up a really good fight. These legionnaires are still fighting somehow with, like, I don't know. I don't know how they were still alive, but they fought to the last. They really held off the enemy for as long as possible. And wow, that was crazy. Can we get an F in the chat for those legionnaires? That was absolutely insane. They held like champs. But finally, I've got my last line of defense set up. I've got some Triarii holding this choke point. I want to make sure that I keep this arrow tower firing for as long as possible. To do as much damage as I can to the enemy units, because again, arrow towers are very good. If you can keep them firing, they can do a lot of damage to the enemy forces. So I got my Triarii, my really good defensive units holding back the enemy for as long as possible. I've got my archers firing into the enemy lines. I got my slingers firing in the enemy lines. I'm moving up my armored legionnaires. I got my Praetorian Guard situated. This is the elite of the Roman Empire. We will not fall without a fight, damn it. So I'm getting as many elite troops situated and set up as possible. But now it's just kind of the setting up phase. We've got a couple of units fighting, but it's not too terribly intense. Athens just sending over the remnants of their thorax swordsmen to engage with my Triarii. The Thracian warriors are coming in though, which those guys are very scary, but they're very depleted. I was focusing my fire on those guys as they were running up. So hopefully my Triarii will be able to hold off against these guys. But yeah, they're really blobbing up the thorax swordsmen and everything right here. I see that they're moving up their pikemen, so I'm going to go ahead and switch my fire. All of my archer fire, my slinger fire onto those pikemen, because those guys are going to be very, very deadly, and I know it. And they're going to really be able to do a number on my lines, and especially because as the Roman Empire, I do not have access to pikemen. So I was unable to actually bring in any pikeman units for my defense. So if these pikeman units successfully move up and get up to my lines, it's going to be very, very hectic, and it's going to do a lot of damage to my lines. And so I am just going to try to focus as much fire as possible onto these pikemen and do as much damage as possible. Because I really do not want to deal with these pikemen. And Athens knows this, and he's like, all right, he's on the wall. If I just charge up here right now, then he won't be able to fire at me from those walls. And I'm like, oh shit, he's moving up his pikemen. They're fresh. I haven't been able to do nearly as much damage as I would have liked to on these pikes. So ultimately, sorry guys. Ultimately, I'm going to move these auxiliary Syrian archers, so as I'm doing right here, down here, because I won't be able to fire at these pikes from up here. So I'm going to try to move them down here to hopefully get that overarching shot onto these pikes and deal as much damage as possible. Because again, I need to take out these pikes, or else they're just going to absolutely destroy my lines. And my Triarii still holding very well, but here they come. The long, pointy sticks of hell. They are such a pain in my butt. They deal so much damage. It's absolutely insane. And of course, my Triarii doing very well against holding against these Thorax Swordsmen and these mercenary Cretan archers and everything. I ultimately ran out of ammo with these auxiliary Syrian archers, so I charged up. But, you know, as soon as these pikes came in, man, look, my guys are just dropping. Maybe not as much over here, but my guys are just really starting to drop. 119, 118. I mean, they're really starting to lose a lot of units because these pikemen, they can just poke and jab from a distance. I can't get to them. My guys wouldn't circle around for whatever reason, and I can't get to them. I can't do any damage to them. So ultimately, they're just poking and prodding. 111, they're just poking and prodding and just really just absolutely destroy my units, and there's nothing that I can do about it. Of course, realistically, I could do like a giant shield wall and just keep having them bash up against the shield, but one way either the giant spear, the giant pike is going to break, or my shield is going to break, or my arm's going to break, you know? So ultimately, pikemen are just such a deadly weapon. And where are they? Where are they? They've still got more. Macedon still has a unit of half-health pikemen, which, I mean, any pikeman is deadly at this point in the back, and they're ready. They saved their best chokehold destroying units for last. They've got their pikemen situated and set up, and I am freaking out. I do not know what to do. I've got my Armored Legionnaires and my Praetorian Guard and a few archers left and my Triarii, but that is it. That is all I have left. Now, of course, the enemy's numbers are diminishing as well, but I need them to diminish more. I am not prepared. I am not ready to be able to take out these pikemen right now. And so frantically, I'm really trying to get my archers to start firing on those pikes, and these guys are firing. These guys are able to fire up on those pikes, but for whatever reason, my guys over here, and I wasn't paying attention. I wish I had moved them back so they would have been able to fire at the pikes as well. But these guys aren't paying attention. They're just going to sit here, and I'm like frantically, I'm like, all right, guys, you need to fire. All right, guys, you need to fire. All right, guys, you need to fire. And they just would not fire, and I just keep clicking on them and trying to get them situated. Now, every once in a while when I would click, they'd release a couple of arrows, but just not nearly enough. I need them to release as many volleys as possible to try to deal as much damage to these pikes as possible, because I need these pikes to break. And so my Triarii are breaking, and I can't afford to lose that line. I need to keep that tower situated. I need to keep this line I need to keep it going. So my Triarii are breaking, so I'm moving up my Armored Legionnaires, and Athens is moving up his picked hoplites, fully upgraded picked hoplites, it looks like, into the fray as well. But thankfully I was able to get my Armored Legionnaires in there in time to hold off against the enemy, because I cannot let them push past and take out this tower. This tower is going, in my mind, I feel like this tower, because of the fact that my archers aren't firing, at least the tower's still firing and getting a lot of kills on these pikemen and such. And so this tower could potentially be my saving grace, so I cannot lose this tower. So I'm moving up my Armored Legionnaires. I'm just doing whatever I can to successfully hold these guys off. I'm moving up my Armored Legionnaires right here, and I didn't realize how glitchy this area was. Trying to move your units on here, it could potentially be good, but it's really glitchy and really hard to actually work with. But I noticed that there's a gap right here. And so what I'm going to do ultimately with my Armored Legionaries is I'm going to try to reform them inside of a type of like column formation, while my Syrian archers kind of holding back the pikes, and I'm going to try to push them through. So as you guys are about to see, I'm trying to move my guys into a column formation, and I'm going to try to push these guys through so that way I can surround the pike. I'm doing whatever is in my abilities to be able to try to surround these pikes and kill these pikes, because I really need these pikes to die. But again, really glitchy area. They just kind of charge right back to the front lines for some reason. And so I'm like, no, guys, here's the deal. I really need you guys to reform and resituate yourselves. So I'm going to ultimately try to reform again and try to get through this gap and surround these pikes, because I really need to take out these pikes. My Armored Legionnaires over here are breaking. Again, they're fighting against pikes. Very, very difficult unit to fight against, and so they're losing way too many men. And I didn't notice this because I was so focused on trying to get these guys in and attacking the backs of these pikes. So ultimately, I'm like manually just trying to move these guys into the backs of the pikes and just trying to kill these pikes. I really need to get rid of these pikes. And so Macedon, see what I'm doing, is going to reform his pikes And so I see that he's reforming his pikes, and I'm going to try to move my armored legionaries to counter it, and it's just a really hectic battle over here. But I see that I was breaking over here, so I moved in a unit of Praetorian Guard, but I didn't notice, because I was so focused on trying to maneuver these armored legionnaires, I did not notice the gap. So ultimately Athens is going to take advantage of that and moved in his unit of picked hoplites. And finally, maybe. And finally I do notice, I think. I hope. Please notice. Please notice. There we go. And ultimately I do notice that that gap is open. And so I'm going to charge in my other unit of Praetorian Guard to try to close that gap. But that's it. This is all I have. 2 units of Praetorian Guard and a breaking unit of Armored Legionnaires and a few units of Archers. That's all I have left. And yes, the enemy is really diminished too, but they have the pikes. The pikes are just so good. And so I see that the back of these pikemen are exposed, so I'm going to try to focus fire with these auxiliary Syrian archers in the back of these guys. I'm just doing whatever I can. If I can take out these pikes, I feel like I can win, but I really need to successfully take out these pikes to be able to do so. So I'm using whatever strategies, like whatever abilities that I have, I'm really trying to take out these pikes and get everything situated. You know that things are getting really desperate whenever I send in Legatus. That's his name, right? Legatus. My general. Whenever I send in my general to help within the fight, you know things are getting really desperate. Since there's a gap right here, Athens sends in his depleted unit of pikes to try and take this tower, because he knows that this tower is one of the main things that's doing damage to him. So he's doing whatever is in his abilities to take out this tower so that it stops firing on him. I see that his pikes are exposed, so I'm going to charge in my auxiliary Syrian archers are pretty much out of ammo. I used most of it. They still had a little bit, but at this point, I'm just like, any man, woman, or child, I need you guys in the fight right here, right now. So I'm charging them into the back of these pikemen to hopefully stop these pikemen from taking out this tower, because I really need this tower to keep firing, but it's about to break. The floodgates are about to open. The Praetorian Guard are breaking. They're falling like no other because of the pikes. The pikes are just so good, and there's nothing that I can do about it. And so my Praetorian Guard ultimately break, and it opens up this whole section for the enemy just to charge in, flank around me, attack my archers, do whatever they can. I did dismount my general ultimately to try and use them as an infantry unit to keep back the enemy. And I see that my archers had not successfully taken out those pikes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to charge my general in, because I still have hope. If I can successfully, save these Praetorian Guard and do whatever I can, I still have hope that I might be able to win. So I'm charging my general into these pikes. I'm going to do whatever I can to try to take out these pikes and retake this tower. But when they finally notice that there's a huge gap right here, see, they're about to notice. They're sending in their pikes. They're charging in their units. There's a huge gap. And I don't know. I really don't know how I would be able to win this. This is absolutely insane, because they've got the huge gap here. They can just charge in, surround my guys. My Praetorian Guard is breaking. They're falling very quickly because of the picked hoplites and because of the pike support. My general is engaged with pikes. I've got all of my archers engaged in melee. All of my units are breaking. We no longer have the support of the tower. And ultimately, I think it's safe to say, guys, that this is going to be a loss. But what a battle. I mean, this was a 1v2, remember. So I'm facing against 2 armies, 40 units in total with my 20 units. And I somehow successfully brought it down to just them having a handful of units and me having a handful of units. So I'm pretty proud of myself, I'm not going to lie. And this was a really well played battle. I mean, the strategies used by the enemy, both by my opponents and by myself, it was a really neat battle. Some of the stuff that happened throughout the battle was really cool. And it was a fun battle all in all. So yeah, thank you guys, my opponents, Athens and Macedon, for thank you guys so much for playing this battle. I really did enjoy it. Yeah, I really would hope, I would love to be able to play another battle like this again. I love playing these type of battles on stream, and that stream link will be in the description below if you guys want to see more content by yours truly. But yeah, this was a very fun battle, very interesting battle. A lot of really cool tactics were used, and it was insane. It was a very bloody, gory battle and a very well fought battle on both sides. But let's go ahead and look at the kills. Let's see how well we did. So, I threw away my elephants at the beginning, but ultimately like, they were still able to get a decent amount of kills. I mean, 300 kills just for me throwing away my elephants. That's not bad at all. Now, of course, most of that's going to be on those ranged units, I think, that I charged the elephants into. But they did a number. Oh no, I completely forgot that they killed a lot of cav units too. So ultimately, like, save your elephants. Like, they can really rack up a ton of kills. I threw away my elephants, and they still got 300 kills. My archers doing very well. I really try to focus them on their weaker units. The giant ass sword guys, the pikes, etc., etc. My elite unit's really not doing very well. I was really hoping they would do a lot more damage, but ultimately those pikes just wrecked them. But my legionnaires, 457 kills, 276, 249, 160. I mean, my legionnaires really did a number, and that was crazy. Like, they really, like, my armored legionnaires got wrecked. They did not do a single thing. My legionnaires really just did a huge number on the enemy team, and my elite troops really not doing much. They really slacked, and I'm a little bit disappointed in them. Like, my Praetorian Guard, 108 kills, 51 kills. That's one of the most elite infantry on the Roman side of things, and they really just didn't do much. Looking at the enemy team, or my opponents, Macedon doing very well, using his pikemen to the best of his ability. Having a ton of Thoric swordsmen, 6 units. Thoric swords didn't do that much, but they really disrupted my lines whenever he charged through everything, so that was very good. His cav, this cav strategy that he used, like just being able to successfully charge through my spears, and absolutely wreck them, was really cool. It sucked during the game seeing that, but like afterwards, that was really cool to see. Heavy onagers getting a few kills, not too many. He mainly used them to break through the walls. His archers getting a few kills, not doing bad. Athens, his fucking pikemen, dude. That was well played. Well played to them. His pikemen coming in clutch with 282 kills and 247, really just wrecking my elite troops. His Thoric swords getting a decent amount of kills too, probably against my legionnaires on the walls. Veteran hoplites getting a decent amount of kills. His Thracian warriors getting a good chunk of kills. His general getting a ton of kills as well, which really surprised me. Overall, Athens really coming in clutch, but ultimately, overall, it was a really good battle, guys. Again, thank you to my opponents so much for playing in this battle. I really enjoyed it, and I really hope you guys did as well. Thank you guys to the viewers. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you guys liked it and you want to see more of it, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. It really motivates me to be able to make more content for you guys and to release more content on my YouTube channel. Just to try to bring as much entertainment as possible to you guys, whenever is possible. If you guys also liked the video, or if you guys didn't like the video, please be sure to let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think I might have been able to do better. Let me know what you guys really liked about the video, and that you might want to see in future videos. I love to be able to hear advice from you guys, because of course this YouTube channel is based around bringing entertainment to you guys. So please let me know what you guys might want to see in future videos. But again, guys, thank you everybody so much all around for watching this video. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us.